Good morning and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. It is April 14th, 2024. This is episode 137. This is a podcast by a dreamer, for dreamers out there, comedian and actor and improviser Paul Green, sharing my journey as I try to figure out what the heck I am doing in my life as a performer and going for big dreams and sharing my journey along the way. So, those of you who've been watching know that last week I set a number of goals to help discipline myself because discipline is something that I am not very good at. And so I set some goals. I have these goals in an app that I can track, and it sends me a notification every single day. And since I do this podcast every day, I am allowing my online audience to help hold me accountable to these goals because nothing is more influential than peer pressure. So, my goals, I got five of them pretty much. So, number one is to write three new jokes or bits a day, to do 10 squats, 20 push ups, 20 sit ups, and to not drink any sugar soda for 6 days out of the week. I started these goals Monday, if I remember correctly. And so far, I've had 100% week. Probably with the exception of when it came to the joke writing, yesterday's jokes, I actually didn't come up with anything brand new, but I did pull in jokes that are new that I had written a couple weeks ago or maybe a couple months ago, but hadn't really worked on. And I pulled those jokes um, and started working on them. And I shared those jokes with you yesterday. So uh, I said yesterday. Yes, yesterday. Yesterday's podcast. Okay. So let's talk about jokes. So I have been receiving some mentorship from a incredibly talented, successful stand-up comedian. His first name is Andrew, and he has sort of taken me under his wing, à cette toi. And he and I have been working together, and he has been guiding me, if you will, on how to get better at this comedy thing. And so one of the things that I did is, we have a shared Google Doc, and all of these new jokes that I've been writing, I've been putting in this Google Doc so that he could review them. He's been pretty busy, but yesterday he finally went through a bunch of my jokes and started writing his notes on them. And as you can expect, almost all of the jokes were bad. Or he pretty much said, nope, nope, not this, not this, which I kind of expected, but I was also, it's never fun to hear it. There were a couple jokes, though, that he said you're on the right track on this one. This one is good. And another thing that he asked me to do, which I had been putting off, was he said, I want you to look at Brian Regan, Jim Gaffigan, and Sebastian Maniscalco and find three bits of theirs and upload those three bits to this Google Doc. And I've been kind of putting that off because in my mind, I'm going, I've already seen everything that Brian Regan's done. I can actually rehearse most of his material like off the top of my head. I could like do an impersonation of Brian Regan. I've seen a lot of Jimmy Gaffigan, although not all of his stuff, and I've seen a little bit of Sebastian Maniscalco. But he kept reiterating, "Have you looked at those three comedians yet? Have you uploaded those videos?" So I finally went, "Okay, I should do this." And I had pretty much blocked off all of last night to write and to work on my stand-up. So I go to a restaurant, I plop down, which is kind of my MO. And I'm like, all right, let's go look at some Brian Regan, Jim Gaffigan, and Sebastian Maniscalco. And I watched this Brian Regan bit that I have probably seen realistically 20 times, maybe 15 times. And it's the opening bit to his stand-up comedy special, I Walked on the Moon, which I believe came out maybe around 2006, 2007. And in my opinion, is one of the most perfect 1 hour stand-up comedy routines. I mean, his whole act, that 1 hour, is just flawless in execution, flawless in honesty, in authenticity, in absolute hilariousness. Everything out of Brian Regan's mouth, every action, every movement, every expression is just flawless. And it is so funny. And I have seen the whole I've Walked on the Moon again, probably a good 10 or 15 times. And that doesn't include all of the other times little clips of it have maybe popped up on my social media over the years. So I went back and I watched just the first opening bit, pretty much his opening joke. And there was something about watching that again, taking into consideration everything that, again, my mentor Andrew has been trying to get into my head in terms of, if you really want to get your stand up to the next level, this is what the most successful comics do. The headliners, the people who get on television, the people who get Netflix specials, those types of comics. They do this type of comedy and they don't do anything else. And they stay in this lane. And he had been trying to preach that to me, but my ego and maybe my stubbornness or maybe just my insecurity, whatever it was, I just wasn't really in a position to, I don't know, believe it or see it. I don't know what it was. But for some reason, when I watched that Brian Regan opening joke again, I went, oh, that's what it is. And even up until that point, I had been writing material in a certain way. And how I always wrote material, I'll even show you. I would write material like, I don't know how well you can see that. I'm sorry for those who are listening. I would write SU, which is setup, and then I would write PL, which is punchline, right? And to me, that was sort of my attempt to put everything that I was saying in joke structure, because I was thinking comedy is jokes. So no matter what type of comedy I'm doing, no matter what I'm talking about, there needs to be a setup and a punchline. There needs to be the part that people don't laugh at and the part that they're supposed to laugh at. And I've written that way for years. After seeing Brian Regan's opening bit again, who knows how many times I've seen, and taking into consideration everything that my buddy Andrew has been telling me, I completely changed how I write. And I know it's been for one night, but I watched Brian Regan, and then I just went to Jim Gaffigan, and I just typed Jim Gaffigan top bits. And then I went, oh, there it is again. Not the exact same formula, but the exact same components of the formula may be adjusted a little bit, right? But that's the case with every formula, right? It's like every pop song, there's pretty much 4 components to every pop song ever. It's like there's an introduction, there's a verse, there's usually a pre-chorus, there's a chorus, and there's a bridge. What is that, 5? And sometimes, the pop musicians will switch it up a little bit. They'll just start with the chorus. Or, sometimes they'll do 2 verses and then a chorus. Or sometimes they'll do, a verse and a chorus and then go right in the bridge and then do a verse, right? But pretty much it's just those same components. And when I watched Brian Regan, Jim Gaffigan, and then I went and watched Sebastian Maniscalco, which I hadn't really watched a lot of, but when I watched, and again, I just pulled up like top 10 Sebastian Maniscalco bits, and then I'm going, there it is again. The exact same formula. And really, all these comics are doing is adding their own personality, their own sort of quirks and persona into the formula, but it's the same general formula. You all want to know the formula? Step number 1 is what happened or what did I observe? Step 2 is what do I think? What did I think of what I saw and observed? Or what did I do in response to what I saw or what happened or what I observed? Step number 3 is what is my honest and true opinion about either what happened, what I saw, or what I did or what I thought about what happened or what I observed. And then there's an act out, which means they then personify or characterize through some sort of act out their opinion or what they thought, what they saw, or what they observed. Here are the examples that I saw. So, for example, Brian Regan, his opening joke to I Walked on the Moon is, I'm feeling good, but I recently had to go to the emergency room because I had some stomach virus or something. And I was sitting there and I was thinking about calling 911. That's weird, right? You call the ambulance for other people. How am I supposed to call the ambulance for myself? Yeah, can you come get me? Yeah, I don't feel so good. Yeah, just come on in. I'll be lying on the floor. So let's break it down. So, what actually happened? He had a stomach virus and he knew he needed to go to the emergency room. So, that's what happened. What did he think or what did he do? What he thought was, I should call an ambulance. What was his opinion about needing to call the ambulance? That is weird. It is weird for me to call an ambulance for myself. I should call an ambulance. You call an ambulance for other people. That's his honest opinion. Then what did he do? He acted out or personified his thought process, which is what it would look like if he actually called an ambulance for himself. The next joke, then he just goes on to the next. Now, all of this is under an umbrella of his going to the emergency room, but that's the first joke. So then what's the second joke? He goes, no, so I drove myself to the emergency room. Okay. So now we have a second, what did he do? And this is still in response to the initial what happened. So the initial happened was he had a stomach virus. Now we're on to the second, what did he do? He drove himself to the emergency room. And then he goes, so no, I drove myself to the emergency room. That was a nice, relaxing drive. Opinion, but now he uses sarcasm, but it's still an opinion. And we know that when he said driving himself to the emergency room was a nice, relaxing drive, we know that what he's expressing is that it was not a relaxing drive having to drive yourself to the emergency room when you have a stomach virus. True opinion. And then what did he do? An act out. So no, I had to drive myself to the emergency room. That was a nice, relaxing drive. La da da da. No, after you. Merge, everybody, merge. I'm only imploding. Act out. Next joke. I got to the emergency room, no valet parking. Again, what did he do? He needed to go to the emergency room. What did he think or what was his opinion about that? I went to the emergency room, no valet parking. So there was no valet parking. That's what happened. If that's not the biggest oversight in our solar system, opinion about what just happened, if there's ever a time that you want to go, yeah, can you go and park this? I think I'm going to die. Act out. But no, I'm circling the parking lot. What did he do? Hey, can I park there? I think I'm going to die. I'm dying too. Okay, you go ahead. I'll take it up a couple levels. Act out. What happened? Opinion, act out. What happened? Opinion, act out. Jim Gaffigan. What did he say? I think I wrote it down. Jim Gaffigan. Oh, so Jim Gaffigan, the bit that I saw about Jim Gaffigan. So Brian Regan is talking about specific events. Jim Gaffigan, he does an observation. What did he observe? You know, if you tell people you don't drink, it's the only time you have to ask why. Observation. What, you don't drink? Act out. Right? You don't have to do that with mayonnaise. Opinion. Act out. Sebastian Maniscalco. So the doorbell rang. Do you remember what it was like 20 years ago when the doorbell would ring? Right? What happened? The doorbell rang. Observation. What would happen 20 years ago when the doorbell rang? That's his opinion. His opinion is how great it was 20 years ago when the doorbell would ring. And then how it was this big event in the family, and the family would come to the door. They would get up. They would invite the guest in. They're having cake. They're having coffee. He does. I looked at the timestamp. He does a 2-minute act out based off his opinion that based off his opinion of his observation that 20 years ago, when somebody rang the doorbell, it was this glorious affair. They invite in. It was called company. You had company, and you brought them in, and you sat them down, and you said, yeah, you want some cake, and your mom had some cake. And he does that whole thing, and he just keeps doubling down, doubling down, doubling down. And then he goes, but now when the doorbell rings, everybody's quiet. It's like, what the is going on? Right? Act out, opinion. So I have now changed my writing format. And my writing format is now, what happened or what did I observe? What is my honest and true opinion about what happened or what did I observe? And then how can I act out or personify what my opinion is or what I thought or what I did, or act out what actually happened and personify that all on stage. So here's my first attempt. You all ready for this? Bow, 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 bow. You all ready for this? Sorry, that was a impromptu Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. All right. No, I just wrote this, so I'm not going to really be able to like deliver it comedically. I just kind of got to read what I wrote, but hopefully you can see the elements of what I just outlined for you. So I feel really bad for women when they write dating profiles under the assumption that men read. Women, just allow me to demonstrate how much time men actually spend reading your well thought out dating profiles. But then women complain that they matched with a man who clearly didn't read their profile. Why did he match with me? I clearly explained in paragraph 47, section B, line 27, that I'm not looking to date any man who is currently under 6 feet tall. In the event that your height increases, I will allow a match inasmuch as you verify your height within 48 hours of matching. Ladies, I am sorry to tell you this, but men are reading your profiles as often as you're reading those terms and conditions that always pop up on websites. Have any of you ever actually clicked on those terms and conditions and just seen how many terms and conditions there are to subscribe to anything? I can honestly state that at this point in my life, I have agreed to 100% of all the terms and conditions required of me. And how do I know? Because there's never been an instance in my life where I was about to sign up for something, clicked on the terms and conditions, started reading, and saw something that made me go, hell no. Who do you think I am? Some sort of chump? I have no idea what terms and conditions I have blindly agreed to Any day, any day, there could be two men in black suits and sunglasses knocking on my door. Are you Paul Green? Yes. Is there some sort of problem? We're going to need you to come with us. What did I do? You know what you did. You know exactly what you did. October 5th, 2016, Netflix subscription. Maybe you'll think twice next time your roommate asks for your login. My point is, ladies, men aren't reading your dating profiles. And I am learning when talking to women, it's the complete opposite with women. Women read everything in a man's profile, then go to their social media, and then run a background check, track down your ex-girlfriends, and get the lowdown on your breakup. I can't tell you how many times I've received a notification that I have matched with a woman, and by the time I've logged into the app, they've already unmatched. Then I just have to think, well, what did they find out about me? And I actually had a good friend say, well, Paul, they probably find out you're a stand-up comedian. And I was pretty offended because that's actually probably true. Most women my age are looking for stability. Anyway, that's my first attempt. But do you see the formula in there? What happened? Or what did I observe? I observed that women complain that men don't read their dating profiles. What's my opinion on that? Yeah, men don't read. They definitely don't read dating profiles. What's my act out? Whatever. And then I have the act out on the terms and conditions. I have my opinion on that, my act out. It's not perfect, but that was my first attempt at trying to follow that formula. And so now the name of the game is how many opinions, what actually happens, observations can I come up with, have an opinion with, find the act out, and then just start rebuilding a whole act. So that's all I got to do. My opinion is this is going to be a lot of work, but I at least feel like I have some structure now. I have some guidance. I can really start to like hone in on that formula and just start to see what comes out. I had a lot of fun writing that bit, although reading it right now, I'm like, actually, this isn't good at all. But that's the point. Is it's okay because that's what it takes. It's just writing so many different bits until one of them pops. It's like I think about think of any like your favorite band, right? And how many albums did Queen pop out, right? But how many Queen songs do you know? You know, like 10% of all of the songs they actually wrote. They had to write so many freaking songs just to get We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions, Bohemian Rhapsody, Bicycle, Killer Queen, Crazy Little Thing Called Love, I Want to Break Free, like 7 songs. Keep Yourself Alive, 8 songs. It's like 8 songs out of how many albums of music? Or like Led Zeppelin, how many albums? 10 albums they did. And how many Zeppelin songs do you know? Like 5, 10. So I am just now in a situation to where I feel like when I write now, I can write with a little bit more guidance, which is actually it's sort of a relief for me because I have been like pretty discouraged in my writing. And when I was writing, I feel like I don't even know what I'm doing here. I just feel like I'm just all over the place in terms of trying to figure out what I think would be funny. And so there was just something about watching some of the most successful comics ever, see what they do, see the structure. It was just kind of that scene in the Matrix. All of a sudden, I just kind of saw the ones and zeros of like, oh, that's what they're doing. So we'll see how that goes. Sorry, that was really technical and very in the nuts and bolts of comedy specifically. I do try to keep this more general in terms of going for dreams, but my dream right now is going for comedy. And so what I'm learning in that specific lane is what I am sharing. So I am still on track for all of my goals, still writing new material and writing the new jokes, doing the exercises, staying off that sugar soda 6 days a week. And we'll see what starts to happen. And a lot of cool things brewing, my friends. A lot of cool things. I'm working on a new podcast with another stand-up comedian, and then working with my buddy on producing a comedy show. So we'll see how all of that starts to shake out here in the next couple of weeks, and see if I can start to rewrite an act that is uh, more consistent with the great comedians who have been very successful, and really start to hone a more headlining uh, Netflix late night television Comedy Central type stand up comedy routine. All right, everybody. So that's the update here for April 14th, 2024, episode 137 of the Paul Green Comedy Podcast. I love you all so much. I hope you're doing well, and that whatever dream you're going for, that maybe you are seeking for those nuggets of wisdom, studying maybe who's gone before you, seeing what you can learn from those who have accomplished what you're looking to accomplish, and taking a little bit of wisdom and inspiration from them. All right, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful day. I love you all so much, and I will talk to you tomorrow.